Alors, I start with a short presentation, a short contextualization of virtual reality first. It's a fully digital technology that creates dynamic images. In practical terms, it involves using a socio-technical device. Its technical aspects include hardware like headsets, peripheral, software, digital structure, IT system, and it's shaping their structural and prescriptive nature characteristics. The social dimension emerged from the interaction, the relationships among these technical tools, VR content creators, and the audiences and their expectations. After this short context, I give you a quick overview of the virtual reality landscape aimed at the general public in cultural industries. In 2012, Palmer Luckey launched his project Oculus on Kickstarter, and 2 years later, Facebook bought the project and made the Oculus platform. Today, it's Meta platform. Around the same time, Sony, with the project Morpheus, launched the PSVR, which is on the console PlayStation, and HTC, in partnership with Valve Corporation, launched the HTC Vive with content created for the Steam platform. So, virtual reality is initially shaped for a distribution on platforms. But what the VR sector players actually do with this proposition? It's my question here. Hop, je vais essayer de... Alors, c'est celle-là. Ouais, je suis désolée. Donc, there are the prototypes for each headset. Okay, so I have micro-analytical approach and try to be with what the VR players actually do with the platform strategies. Okay, I begin with the presentation of what are the two dominant designs actually emerging in the VR sector. With the classical organization of creation, production, and distribution. In the creation phase, authors and technical developers need to consider the VR-specific content right from the start. It's quite similar to a video game design, but VR adds extra layers such as 3D rendering, eye tracking, hand tracking, and the capture of the body in the space. And developing VR content requires using a game engine tailored to available headsets in the market. Each headset manufacturers provide a software development kit and collaborates with game engine providers. So it's a platform. Regarding production, creating cultural VR content must consider both creative development and distribution, with a focus on this digital aspect. Currently, two types of producers are dealing with the VR technologies. They are producers from the audiovisual sector, particularly in documentaries, web documentaries, who have experienced the transmedia storytelling between television and the internet, and producers from the video game sector, even if it's less dominant in France in the VR, in the landscape, in the French landscape, and it's really a niche in France. while these origins may have minimal impact on the technical creation, they greatly affect the content of the distribution channels. Typically, the audiovisual industry models involves production or co-production that receive public funding, emphasizes authorship or artistic viewpoints, with a strong narrative and cultural focus, and these works are essentially distributed through cultural institutions. The video game industry model involves production or co-production that receive private funding or tax credits, focus on the entertainment, the games, and the wellness, leisure, and they are essentially distributed on the platforms. This is the actual shaping in France. Of course, the sector is emerging, so this framework maybe is oversimplify the things. It's more an hybridization in the reality. It's a model. Donc, companies in the various sectors employ common and distinct strategies depending on their position on the value chain. They share common strategies at the creative phase, while their distribution strategies differ downstream. Alors, ensuite. Excuse me. Okay. At the creative level, the entire VR sector is concerned with the hardware, the device on one hand, and the content design involving creative production platform on the other. Over the last 8 years, hardware's evolution follow each other very quickly. It requires agility, constant adaptability from all professionals of the sector, and we can distinguish 4 points that have direct impact on their practices that require specific skills, knowledge for creative professionals directly linked to the device. First point, there are no same development on porting standard between each headset. If you develop one work, you have to deal with all the different development kit headsets. And the second point is that headset versions change every 2 years and so on. So the challenge for the developers is to strike a balance between taking advantage of the latest feature without excluding the old ones. The risk is to lose the user of the older versions or to frustrate the newer headsets. Well, after the third point is the updates, especially with the operating system and the development kits. It happens so often, it's around every 2 months. So that requires a lot of monitoring to incorporate or remove these headset features. And after, there is a technology push process to consider the anticipation surrounding the new mixed reality headsets like Meta Quest 3 or the Apple Provision. I have no visibility on the Apple Provision, but for Meta is providing significant financial support for projects on the Quest 3, but the development of the work takes 3 to 5 years in the complete process. And for the moment, the professionals have absolutely no idea about the reception of this kind of technology or of this kind of content, so it's a risk. When it comes to the creative production platform for VR, Unity and Unreal Engine stand out with Unity is the most popular. From the 2016, Unity and Unreal Engine, leveraging on the GitHub community and collaborating closely with headset manufacturers on their distribution platform, developed the necessary tools for creating and distributing VR contents. But VR creators use this platform as valuable technical tools and that simplify the creation and simplify. They highlight the benefits of collaborative work, fostering co-creation and collective intelligence for faster and better development. The only strategy we can distinguish for the developers' attitude is the choice between the two engines. Unity is preferred for its user-friendly interface and the quick integration of a new feature developed for headsets. And Unreal Engine is known for its computational power and high-quality graphics. However, creators do not mention issues like the playboard, the potential limitation of creative production methods, and the risk of standardizing professional practice and their resulting works. Alors, two professions have emerged in the VR industry at the creative phase. There are XR developers and creative producers. XR developers are considered as creative technologists. They invent new ways of interacting with virtual environments. They are skilled in programming and in 3D design, proficient in creative production engines and all the related functionalities. 3D development studio aim to reuse technological building blocks across projects, offering them as a service contracts or technical services to other studios to monetize their expertise. The aim is to sustain the studios and retain talent, the specific talent of XR developer. Because the issue for the studios is they are currently relying on project commission, and by promoting their technological building blocks, studio can secure their own funding and be stronger time after time. The work of creative producer represents a new approach. It's a way to be an executive producer in the VR sector, acting as intermediaries between creators, technical teams, and producers. They manage project development, integrating the agile method, similar to video games production. Their responsibilities include project management, complementing the team skills, the planning tasks, and they adapt the evolving hardware and software landscape of VR within allocated time and budget constraints. It's not easy, it's on five-year time, and sometimes with the updates, the change of headsets, the change of the platform regulation, it's a real heavy work. Okay. As mentioned earlier in the presentation, professionals in the VR sector typically opt for either platform distribution or distribution specialized venues like cultural institutions and LBE. For companies and professionals focused on the platform distributions, the European and North American markets are primarily dominated by two platforms, as MetaQuest platform and Steam. These platforms have distinct identities and access conditions that significantly shape the professional practices in the sector. MetaQuest serves as a platform connecting Quest headset owners with VR content creators. with the feedback of the professional to be published on the main store, on the MetaQuest. Creators often need an agreement framework with the platform, similar to a co-production deal. And due to the confidentiality agreements, none of the professionals agreed to explain me the amounts allocated or the condition to be selected. But so the submitted works must be technical, must meet technical and editorial criteria. Technical criteria called VRCs, VR checks, are extensive and continuously evolving, and it takes between 6 and 10 weeks at the end of the project to be evaluated and certificated by a daily exchange. It's a very long time to validate the point, the different points. So it's a very long list, and it's not interest. There's no interest to list them today. So if you are interested, just put a QR code if you want to go and see what are these criteria. The editorial criteria prioritize genres like games, sport, wellness, leisure, and there is a limited space for artistic or authorial content unless it aligns with the American political and social volume and certain social cause, plus criteria related to violence and sex according to the same cursors, which raise the question of cultural diversity, original and independent form of expression. In return, for meeting all these criteria, MetaQuest offers high visibility for works compared to other platforms. There is very few titles, only 500 since 8 years, divided into categories. All the professional I met who are in this situation adapt their practices and strategy for the visibility of their works with the marketing tools offered by Meta. In particular, advertising to reach EdQuest owners via Facebook and Instagram, and tools that encourage users of the platform to continue their purchase. Another strategy is to become part of the main MetaQuest platform is for some companies to opt for an international co-production to reach immediately a global audience. And if it's possible to have an IP, an agreement with an IP, it's better because they can capture the IP audience. For the works that don't meet the requirement for the main MetaQuest platform, they are on the App Lab. It's the second level of the MetaQuest. First main platform is MetaQuest. The second platform is the App Lab, because they don't and the works who are on the App Labs do not have the requirements or do not the requirements, technical requirements or editorial requirements. They are not referenced on the Meta platform, and they don't have access to the marketing tools. And before the launch of the App Lab, there was an alternative platform called SideQuest, served at the similar purpose. It was created by an Irish couple from Belfast, and SideQuest has a large community and collaborates with Meta through the App Lab. This relationship is based on a complex balance between the official Meta platform and the alternative platform. SideQuest is funded by advertising revenue, avoiding a direct competition with Meta. Meta prefers to partner with SideQuest to help developers achieve the certification for the works on the App Lab, and they avoid being singled out with a monopolistic practice. So there are three levels of platform with the MetaQuest contents. Steam for this part. Steam is essentially a platform for selling video games downloads. There's no specific editorial lines. Entry criteria mainly focus on technical aspects, ensuring the absence of bugs through a quick test process, 1 or 2 days, and it costs 100 euros. Basta. It's very more simple. While games align well with the Steam offerings, French narrative content tends to be shorter and deviates from the traditional game design. As a result, these works often go unnoticed by the platform user because the poor writings and the comments feed the algorithm, and then the work becomes finally invisible for the public. To address this challenge, again, players typically rely on the platform marketing offers, participate in regular sales events, package deals to ensure visibility and reach a wider audience. Okay. Currently, I've identified 3 strategies more tactics than strategies aimed at standing out from the marketing strategy established by the North American platforms. 2 French distributors have partnered with mobile operators in China as well, Pico Interactive, which is part of ByteDance, to distribute their catalog in China, Japan, Korea, and so on. Second tactic, Lucid Reality, a French company, has launched a business-to-business platform for cultural institutions to promote its own VR catalog. This helps meet museum budgetary needs and ensure profitability and secure the transaction for the Lucid Realities. I don't know if I have a little time. If I have time. Okay. I have to be okay. I go. And the third strategy, a third tactic I saw is Lucid Realities again. Signed an agreement with another French distributor, is Astrea, which is specialized on platform distribution, and the company will share their VR catalog to benefit each other from their expertise. It's their tactics. So I switch with the last. I go directly to the conclusion. So the virtual reality sector is taking shape, drawing on the video games and audiovisual industry, with many actors coming from this sector in the past decade. Players in the sector, from creation to distribution, try to collaborate and try to resist facing the major communication and high-tech companies. Their strategies are more tactical, case by case, perhaps precarious, as players seize the moment of opportunity, responding in the changing conditions in fast-evolving VR headset landscape, and changing rules of the platform in their access conditions, in their operation, and in their own strategies. Similar tension exists, of course, in the other sector of cultural industry, posing the question about cultural diversity, original and independent form of expression, the lock-in of creative production method from creation to distribution, and the risk of the homogenization of professional practices. And to finish, I would like to focus on two significant aspects of the sector that I haven't addressed. I didn't address in this presentation. First point is the privacy concern around the personal and biometrics data processing, as VR technology can potentially gather information about users' environments, especially with the last headset, which is mixed reality that captures the real environment. Okay, black box. Voilà. And you have also captors in the peripherals. It's biometric information. They can capture your shape. They can capture everything. And the second point is the sustainability with the energy-intensive nature of DVR, both in terms of headset rapid obsolescence and the energy consumption during the creation and the consumption. These questions are real social, political, ethical challenges, and in my sense, justifying their integration into ongoing studies on this subject. I thank you, and I apologize for my